Pizza Girl by Kyoung Frazier. I've been wanting to read this book for quite a while. I've heard a bit about this. I don't know that it lived up to the hype. I didn't hate it. It's fine. I think maybe because I'd heard about this book so many times before that it increased my expectations beyond what it actually could deliver. So maybe that's my fault. But I'm glad I finally got around to reading it. This is a short novel, a literary fiction novel about a woman, a 19-year-old pregnant girl who works as a pizza delivery girl, and she ends up having this weird crush on one of her regular customers, who is this older woman, this older married woman, and who has a son. And it's really sort of existential, somewhat philosophical literary fiction about this girl in kind of a bad place and a weird place and an uncertain place. She's, 19, pregnant with her first child, not planned, but she has a very loving boyfriend who lives with her, and she also lives with her mother, who's like a pretty good mom and takes care of her and looks out for her. So she has a decent support system, but it is still she's she's not quite okay. Her father is dead, but he was an alcoholic, and you get the sense that sort of maybe mental health concerns run in this family as well as alcoholism. So it's kind of this deep philosophical weird book about this pizza delivery girl who gets a crush on a MILF. That's really all you need to know, I guess, if you're gonna read this. I won't spoil the ending. The ending was pretty insane in a way I did not expect. But the ending did have a lot of tension and was pretty interesting. This book was fine. I thought it was well written enough. It didn't like super blow me away. There are definitely lines that are good and are good writing and that other people will get out of. I didn't really personally get anything out of this book. I just didn't relate to the themes or the characters or just really like the idea of it. I don't know. This didn't resonate with me personally. I could see other people liking this maybe. And again, I didn't hate it. It's fine. I'll give this like 3.5 stars maybe. That feels a bit mean because it is well written and it's a unique premise. But I don't know. It wasn't for me necessarily. I'd compare this to something like Emily Austen, but I like Emily Austen more. I find Emily Austen characters a bit more likable. Not all of them, I guess. And it doesn't matter. The likability isn't the thing. It's not necessarily that you're supposed to be rooting for this woman or even that you hate her. Because I didn't hate her. I'm just like, I just wouldn't talk to this person if I knew this person. Yeah, I think I'd compare this to Emily Austen. Not that Emily Austen invented literary fiction, but I feel like there's a similar sort of style in the existentialism, the doubting oneself, and some of the wackiness. I don't know. It's just literary fiction. I feel like this is pretty standard for literary fiction. The only thing I didn't like about this book is this girl does not feel 19. Neither does her boyfriend. So I would have pegged this character as like 25, maybe earlier 20s, but she does absolutely not feel like someone who has just graduated high school. And her boyfriend also doesn't feel like an 18-year-old, 19-year-old who gave up his college scholarships so that he could, be there for her and the baby. They don't feel like teenagers at all. Maybe that's disingenuous to say, but this woman is too calm. I almost want to say content. She's not that content. She clearly doesn't have her life together and is clearly sort of struggling sort of silently. I don't even think she quite understands everything that's like wrong with her or the discontent she feels, but she's just very leveled out and sort of, I don't want to say content because she's not quite content in her life, and I don't want to say reasonable because she does some very unreasonable things in this book. But that's like the feeling. Like she's like solid throughout. She's not overly emotional or super well, she does super irrational things in this book. She does, but she doesn't feel like that. She just feels too solid to be the sort of anxious teenage mother in a very transitory phase of her life that you'd expect from a 19-year-old in poverty with a baby on the way, and like this like not great job prospects. I don't know. She did not feel 19. That's the only way I can explain it. She felt like she had too much of her shit together, even though she did not have any of her shit together. I don't know how to explain it. It was just so calm and so solid. I can't explain it well. But she did not feel 19. She did not feel naive enough. She did not feel immature enough, even though she does not make mature decisions in this book. Maybe it's sort of self-confidence, but she wasn't self-confident either. Wow, what a terrible explanation I'm giving here. She's too content, but she's not at all content in her life. She's too reasonable, but she's not very reasonable. But she did not feel 19 at all. I kept like forgetting she was 19, and just the way she like handles life and seems to accept her fate in a way. She's sort of like fatalistic and just kind of goes with the flow in a way I just couldn't envision a teenager doing. And again, alcoholism is a part of this book, for trigger warnings for that for sure. But the dad was an alcoholic, and she herself has sort of an unhealthy relationship with alcohol. I won't call her an alcoholic, but she does drink in this book, and she's both pregnant and underage. I hate underage drinking in novels. If you've seen anything on this channel, there's a good chance you've heard me talk about that 8 billion times, because every YA novel has underage drinking. This doesn't feel like a YA novel, not just because the character doesn't feel 19, but also just because it's literary fiction and it's not meant for kids or teenagers. It's just a book that happens to be about a teenager. It is not YA. But in this instance of underage drinking in a novel, I won't complain about the underage drinking in this because it is an actual plot point. I complain about underage drinking in novels when just kids go to parties every weekend, when they don't actually do that in real life. And it's very unrealistic and just sort of normalized for all of these kids to be drinking. But in this book, it's very much like a tragic thing. That's a plot point, and alcoholism and addiction are like themes that actually play an important role in the novel. So it makes sense to have that as an actual plot point, and it's not just, oh, she happens to drink every once in a while, and no one questions that this pregnant girl is drinking, and it's fine, what could happen. But she did talk about drinking so casually that I kept forgetting she was 19 and that she couldn't buy her own alcohol until like the ending, when that actually becomes a point where she tries to get someone to buy alcohol for her. And like halfway through the novel, I was like, where is she getting all this alcohol? Because she can't buy it. Is her mom buying it just for herself? Because the mom, I don't really ever remember seeing the mom drink. It was the dad that had the drinking problem, not the mom. Her boyfriend can't buy it. He's too young. So I'm like, I don't know. And I was like, why would she drink if she saw her dad drink? Like, her dad was an alcoholic, like bad. Like, she was in some bad situations because of his alcoholism. And she did not like him very much because he was drunk constantly. She said she never had a conversation with him sober. So I don't know why she would ever start drinking when she knew from a very young age how terrible alcohol was. But I guess that happens. I'm not a doctor or an addiction specialist. In my mind, if I saw someone ruin their life and all of their relationships because of alcohol as a child, I'd be like, oh, I'm not going to do that. But I guess people do that, or they don't realize that anything else is an option, or I don't know. But this character does drink, and her relationship with alcohol is part of the book. But even that didn't feel like a teenager who just like was experimenting and got, roped into alcohol. I don't know. She didn't feel like a teenager. That's I'm just ranting. That's really my one critique. I need to wrap this up. I don't really have a lot to say about this book, honestly. If you're into weird, kind of dark literary fiction with, sad themes or complicated themes or hard themes or difficult themes, you might like this. I was maybe expecting something weirder. I've heard this book is like very weird. It's not really that weird. The ending's pretty weird, but it's the book as a whole isn't like super crazy. It's pretty standard literary fiction, honestly, from what I've read of literary fiction. But it is well written, and it's fine. It's for someone. It's not for me. It was okay. I don't know. Kind of a forgettable one, maybe. I don't know. I guess I can't comment on whether I'll forget it when I just read it like 15 minutes ago. But this won't stick with me. This isn't like my favorite novel of all time, but it is fine. It's a fine book for someone else, maybe.